Good afternoon, Robert Scribbler. It is August 23rd, 2018. Thank you for joining me for another climate change and clean energy video blog. Now for this segment, I'm going to provide you with some new information, some new reports out, particularly about Tesla Model 3 production, but also describing some new innovations and new news for the electrical vehicle industry. But before I get into that, I'd like to call your attention to the necessity to rapidly reduce global carbon emissions. And it's important to note that electrified transportation linked to renewable energy sources like wind and solar is a very important aspect of our potential to rapidly cut carbon emissions and to reach a peak in global carbon emissions as soon as possible. So something to keep in mind. Now, looking at some clean energy vehicle news, it's worth noting that plug-in electric vehicles are taking larger and larger shares of markets around the world. And this is a positive innovation. In my opinion, it needs to move rather rapidly. If there's going to be an approximate 1 billion automobiles in the world, then those automobiles need to be electric, because electrical vehicles are not only 3 to 4 times as efficient as fossil fuel-based internal combustion engines, but they also form an economic synergy with wind and solar, as the battery production base provides a storage potential for otherwise periodic supplies of wind and solar energy. So, looking at Sweden, present plug-in electric vehicle uptake of representing 19% of the market in Sweden is an optimistic new milestone, and it shows what's possible for other markets around the world. And I encourage you to read this article by Inside EVs. It's also worth noting that electrical vehicles are at this point becoming more and more capable. Hyundai has produced a number of extraordinarily efficient electrical vehicles, particularly the Ioniq, which sets new records for efficiency in its class. It's now been recorded by the EPA that the Hyundai Kona electric offers a range of 158 miles and an efficiency of 120 miles per gallon equivalent. Now, miles per gallon equivalent is a measure of efficiency, and electrical vehicles are well ahead of the curve versus other vehicles, particularly internal combustion engine vehicles, but also other clean energy options like hydrogen fuel cell electrical vehicles. And Hyundai does provide an example of how far you can push the curve on that. It's worth noting that the high range of the Hyundai Kona and high efficiency are also providing competition with aspects of internal combustion engine vehicle dominance that has tended to make internal combustion engine vehicles more appealing, but in a number of aspects, electrical vehicles are now overcoming even the traditional strengths of internal combustion engine vehicles. Another report found that Tesla, and we're going to talk a bit about Tesla in this commentary, but just taking a snapshot of the California market for the second quarter of 2018 shows that Tesla is very rapidly expanding in California. And this is an example of what can happen when high-quality electrical vehicles meet up with good policy in a state. California provides electrical vehicle incentives in a number of ways, and California's overall focus on cleaning up its transportation system has enabled rapid adoption of electrical vehicles, which is part of bringing down carbon emissions, a key part of bringing down carbon emissions. So California shows what's possible when you incentivize clean energy transportation and clean energy production in general. Certainly there's more that California can do, but California has done a lot, and that's resulting in the acceleration of clean energy adoption. In particular, Tesla deliveries in California were up by 229% in the second quarter, with the Model 3 outselling the Prius. And digging down into this report, it's worth noting that the Model 3 is the top-selling top-selling model in the near luxury car category at 8,951 vehicles sold in Q2 in California and 12,674 in the first half of the year. Now, this is far ahead of the Mercedes C-Class and the BMW 3 Series, and the Model 3 in the second quarter outpaced all Toyota Prius sales by about 400. So Model 3 showing what's possible for a single model in electrical vehicles, and also providing some, well, for those of us with imagination, some idea of what can be possible in the future. Model 3 is certainly a fantastic electrical vehicle, but due to the positive learning curve of clean energy production, it's likely that we're going to see more advances and more appealing clean energy vehicles in the future. Just checking time here for a second. But the big news that I would like to share with you is that Tesla Model 3 weekly production rates have now, according to Bloomberg's Model 3 tracker, which tracks based on VIN numbers, has now exceeded 6,000 per week, which was Tesla's goal. Of course, this will require official confirmation from Tesla, but it's an early indicator that Tesla Model 3 production continues to remain high, and that Tesla is achieving goals that it set for itself during late spring and early summer. Now, it's worth noting that if Tesla is presently producing 6,000 or more than 6,000 Model 3s per week, that its total approximate electrical vehicle production, including the Model S and the Model X, is in the range of 8,000 per week, which extrapolated to a yearly basis would be 400,000 electrical vehicles produced per year, making Tesla likely the largest producer of electrical vehicles in the world at present, although there is some possible competition for that rank from BYD and BAIC, both Chinese manufacturers that benefit from positive electrical vehicle policies in China, as well as a big push for China to attempt to reduce its air pollution and related carbon emissions. So another milestone hit for Tesla, which is at the tip of the spear for the electrical vehicle revolution. And it's worth noting again in conclusion that the electrical vehicle revolution is a critical part of responding to human-caused climate change and cutting carbon emissions as rapidly as possible by first peaking carbon emissions as soon as possible and reducing carbon emissions as swiftly as possible following that peak. Thank you for joining me, and I'll be chatting with you soon.